6 unprofitable quarters and now back into profitability. Welcome everybody. This video will be about ZEPP Health, a company that has split from Xiaomi in a sense in order to push their own self-branded products, and now has gone through this transition phase in order to hopefully grow back into what it was in the past, a growing company, a profitable company. And so this time again I have the CFO of that company with me on the channel. Actually, it's a 1 hour 20 minutes interview that I've just recorded after the report of the Q3 numbers this week, and I've already published a full interview with my Patreon community. So if you want to support this channel, you can become a Patreon member. All you have to do is to go to patreon.com/dongxi and then sign up for the $10 tier, which will get you an invite link into your inbox, which actually gets you an access to a separate platform in which we have around 300 investors that are interested in Chinese stocks, ZEPP Health, NEO, other stocks, daily events, what's happening in the macroeconomics and so on, and a little bit of gossip here and there. And you can join this and get exclusive content such as that long, really in-depth video with the CFO in full. I will be releasing the video over time in separate bits and pieces. This one will be now around 20 minutes as a overview on the macroeconomics and the situation that ZEPP Health is maneuvering here. So again, if you want the full, you can just join the Patreon and support this channel. Otherwise, you can get these interview bits from time to time here on the channel. So thanks for watching, thanks for your support, and then enjoy this one. Welcome back everybody. I'm pleased to have Leon Deng, CFO of ZEPP Health, with me. They have just released their quarterly earnings, Q3 earnings 2023, a couple of days ago. And yeah, I'm very happy to have Leon back on the channel. So we are going to dive into some of the company numbers that have been reported, but in general, we also will talk about the macroeconomics, the overall situation, and a future outlook as far as it's possible, I would say, and also take to consideration a couple of questions that I got from the investors community for ZEPP Health. But first of all, let me just make a little disclosure here. This is not financial advice. This is meant as a thoughtful discussion of the situation, of the company situation. I also have to disclose that I'm personally owning ZEPP Health company shares, so you need to take my personal opinion as a little bit of a biased shareholder here, of course. But on the other hand, I also want to report neutrally on that. So some people have been also questioning in the past, for example, whether or not I'm receiving money from the companies that I'm covering. That is not the case. It's just my personal opinion and interest to be invested and covering these stocks. So while I have received some little gifts from ZEPP Health from time to time regarding new devices that I'm grateful to be able to check them out, that's all I receive, right? And with that, I just want to be transparent and straightforward to the context of this discussion. And now I'm very happy to have Leon Deng here and discuss the company fundamentals. First of all, congratulations, Leon, for taking the company back into profitability after, I think, 6 quarters that have been loss-making quarters. I think that was one of the biggest outcomes, positives of this latest earnings, I would say. But before we dive into the Q3 earnings with a couple of questions around that, I'd like to know from your perspective, where do you think the whole industry is in terms of, the whole wearable markets, what's happening there, in which ZEPP Health obviously is operating. So are we talking about a market that is currently still in its emerging phases? In your point of view, what's happening now with the topic of AI coming into the sphere? And where do you see ZEPP here among global competition? Just in general, if you can speak a little bit about this broader image and the global macroeconomics in that regard.
That's thank you, Marcel. I mean, good to be on the channel again, and I can definitely testify for you, for your subscribers, or for whoever who is watching this. We see you as a very good promoter of the company. And yes, we also see you as a key opinion leader. So we want you to try out our latest watches from time to time to also for you to experience our advanced functionalities, etc., etc. But in no cases we would pay for these services ourselves, right? So what we are discussing here is very subjective here, and I think I also want to stay neutral to the content which we're doing here. Yeah. So turning back to the bigger picture on the wearables industry, I think if you look at IDC and Catalyst report, because we do receive those and look at those on a quarterly basis, and we also have certain regions GfK report, etc., on market intelligence. I think the overall market in value-wise is still growing. Mm-hmm. So that's the first point I want to mention here. But you can see that actually it's more coming from a few players. Now, for example, the value is growing because Apple, the Apple Watch, the Apple Watch Ultra, etc., these type of high ASP products is number one popular, number two high in ASP, right? And the same goes for Garmin's watch. I think Garmin is also performing relatively good or better than expected because there was widely expected that Apple Watch Ultra is going to take share, and that to some extent didn't happen. Right, so Garmin's result, I think they released 1 week or two before us. A relatively strong set of results, which is good for the industry because it proves that there is a huge demand on the sports and the outdoor segment of the watch, and also the high value segment, right? I think the value increase, as I said, is very much centered around a few big players, Apple, Garmin, and to some extent our products, which we compete in that segment, which
So
drives
overall, do we see units staying flat and but the volume increasing due to the higher prices that you just mentioned? Is that the case, or do we also see?
I think overall you see the value growth, but the value growth is very much driven by a higher ASP by a few key players, and then you see that the overall quantity or units in decline. Here I have to make another caveat because there's a huge growth in units in India. If you look at the brands, local India brands, Noise and Bug, that type of brands, but they are by no means from a quality and from a feature perspective comparable to any of the smart watches which we sell globally. So I think, but because the report we're looking at from IDC and Catalyst, they're looking at the whole market, right? So that's why I think you see volume-wise, there's a decline, but value-wise, there's a single-digit growth year over year.
Yeah. And so looking forward, what are your expectations for the future?
I think value-wise, this segment is still continue going to grow. So I think according to IDC and Catalyst expectation, it's going to grow at high single-digit or low double-digit growth rate for the upcoming 2 years or 3 years to come. But as I said, the differentiation between the players and especially on the sub-segments is going to vary very dramatically among the players. And I think ZEPP is well positioned because we have the full range of products covering all segments. right? So if you're talking about the value segment, we have our bips, we have our pops, we have our watches very much covered in that segment. And if you look at the Apple Watch, Samsung Galaxy equivalent, we have our balance watch. And if you look at the Garmin segment, we have our T-Rex and the Falcon ranges, which competes and very well received by the consumers in that specific domain. Yeah. So what we noticed is that we're taking value shares, not necessarily unit shares, in those segments throughout the year.
And what will be kind of the key challenges in the next coming years for industry players like ZEPP Health? Is it, for example, a transition more to software, or just having higher quality products? Where are you preparing yourself as a company for the next coming years?
No, I think number one, it's one of the aspect which is also the aspect which Apple and Samsung is looking at. So all the big players were looking at health function, right? And maybe you don't know, but we also disclosed that in our quarterly result that we are able to measure the blood pressure on a software. Which is going to be possible and rolled out to all our product lines in the near future in China, right? So because for blood pressure management, before you have to use the bulky Omron devices, right? And then it's a medical device, category 2 devices. So basically you need to get certifications from the FDA's and CFDA alikes in order to push that functionality into your product. So in China, we're one of the first, or maybe the first, to get the CFDA approval, the medical category 2 devices approval on the software. So it's similar to the ECG functionalities which Apple got in United States. And then we're actually pushing that functionality into more places in Europe and in the United States. We're doing the clinical trials as we speak, right? So I think health will be one of the angle which is going to drive the industry forward. And I think there's a lot of functionalities to be explored over there. For example, the widely expected blood sugar measurement, the non-intrusive blood sugar measurement. That is actually one of the killing thing which has been rumored by Apple. I think everybody is looking at that, including ourselves. But I think we're still a few years away from having a product which is capable of doing so and measure it accurately. But we have different form factors of the wearable products, which is capable of doing that. And then I'm not going to rule out the possibility that in the upcoming quarters, we're going to have a similar product towards that domain. But it's unlikely to be in the shape of a watch or smartwatch or band, right? But I think for a smartwatch or band to develop that type of functionality is still a few years out. So I think that's one of the segment which everybody is looking at. It's on health. I just give you a few examples. If you can measure the blood pressure, the blood sugar, and all your vitals on your wrist, then that is going to open a lot of potential for the segment to grow big time. Right, but it's very much subject to the sensing capabilities and so on in order to get us there. Right, it also requires education of the users, the FDA and CFDA approvals. So it's a serious thing which everybody is looking into, including ourselves. I think we're invested in that domain, and this is one of the area which we really wanted to distinguish us from the rest. So I think that's on health, right? So that's one of the future of the wearables where we're looking at. And I think the other functionalities as you say, where we see the growth is on AI indeed, right? How to implement AI functionality, which is smart enough to help the users on their day-to-day uses without looking at their phone, without typing anything on the watch, is actually one of the things which we're looking at. I think we're one of the early adopters of AI. Within our watch, you already have the ChatGPT-alike type of functionalities. I think we're one of the first one in industry to integrate that, and it's offline. I think in the upcoming month, we have it on our roadmap whereby we're going to make our AI functionality even more powerful than what it is now, right? I think what we want to do ultimately is to cater for all the data and vitals which we can get from the smartwatch and band, and come to AI type of functionality, which can be your personal trainer or your personal coach or your personal nutrition expert who can give you advice on how to live a good lifestyle, right? And that functionality has been pushed to some of our products already, and then we're going to roll it out into more products. And I think that's one of the domain or area which we're going to put a lot of resources into, and see if we can use our own trend models in order to generate AI content which better understands yourself as a user, rather than use the generic functionality of a ChatGPT.
Right, that's great. That's a good overview, and I will come back to a couple of questions regarding this in a couple of minutes. But first, let us look into the quarterly numbers. As I've just said in the introduction, you reported a profitable quarter for the first time in, I think, 6 quarters. So this is, I think, should be great relief to shareholders, and overall should be a testament to hopefully also going forward financial health of the company. Meanwhile, I have looked also on more depth into the quarterly numbers, and also had a deeper look and analysis, which, by the way, I shared with my Patreon community. If you're interested in that, this was exclusive content that you can get if you're becoming a Patreon member, and then you will get with the $10 tier an invite into my community, where I put out videos that are usually longer takes, more in depth, and not visible on the public channel. And so I had a review of these numbers, and in short, for me, I would say, while many indicators are pointing towards the positive side and are really good to see, for example, I think the best margins you have ever reported, right? Back into profitability, high average sales prices. I still think it's possibly not yet enough to really get investors excited, and that's, I think, mainly because my sentiment is that the back to profitability outcome has been mainly because of cost cuts, and not yet because of growth that we see on the top line yet, right? How do you think about this?
No, I totally agree, Marcel, right? But then there's different stages of our transformation journey. So that's why we also mentioned that we were in a transformation phase before for the past 6 quarters. And now it's only the start, or we even see it's at the end, the light at the end of the tunnel for a transformation journey. And obviously, if you put an analogy to this, I think we're running a marathon where we only did the warm-up part of that marathon. Right now, so let's just rewind a little bit on where this company is coming from.